Sam Raimi is back in perfect form with his latest movie, Send Help. All right. When I saw the trailer for this, I thought, holy fuck. If done right, this could be a great movie. At the very least, at the worst, it could be a decent movie. And I'm happy to report that it's somewhere in the middle. It's not perfect and it's not dog shit. It's pretty damn delightful. And that's weird to say about a movie like this, all right? It kind of reminds me a bit of, let's say, Castaway or 6 Days, 7 Nights, but with a little bit of a twist. Because it's kind of like those two movies merged together and had a baby with a little movie called Misery. Okay? So think being marooned on an island with two very different types of people, and one person is kind of being held there against their own will, kind of without fully knowing they're being held captive. I'm trying not to spoil things here. I'm trying to dance around what you've seen in the trailer because there's a lot more going on here, a lot more nuances. All right, so let's talk about this. It stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. And let's get to the nitty gritty. Rachel McAdams never lets down. She's a powerhouse performer. And Dylan O'Brien, the past three movies I've seen him in, Saturday Night, Twinless, and Anniversary, and now this guy is growing on me, man. Like, he's a wide spectrum of an actor. And the two of these fantastic actors put together, pretty much the only ones in this movie. The sole talent for 90% of the movie. There's a few other people here and there, like Dennis Haysbert and a few other faces here and there, but it's primarily just these two. All right. And they sell it. We don't know how long they've been on this island. I'm going to assume at least a month, maybe two. All right. So let me back up a little bit. Essentially, there's this big company and there's this homely woman who's fantastic at her job. She's the cornerstone of the company, and the president of the company loves her and promised to make her the new vice president of the company. And things are looking good, but he ends up dying and he left the company to his hot-headed son, who essentially doesn't really want this weird kind of older, wacky, out there dippy, airy woman being his VP. He wants a bro. He wants someone that he can just fucking party with and do crazy shit with and have no worries about offending or being let down by. And this sets this woman on a course of anger and opens up her primal anger, and when she calls him out, he offers to let her come on a big business trip to Bangkok because essentially he knows that she has the wherewithal and the skills to help make this big merger go through. And he's trying to make it look like he's trying to let her have a bone to prove herself that she could get this job, even though he has no intentions of giving it to her. He wants to give it to one of his old frat bros who's been at the company for a couple of months. And while they're flying to Bangkok, one thing leads to another, turbulence hits, and the plane gets all fucked up. The only two survivors is her and her shithead boss who was treating her like garbage before all of this went down. But as we learned in the beginning of this movie, this woman loves survival books. She has all these nature books. She worships Survivor the series. She's even auditioned to be in Survivor. So when they get marooned on this island, she's the type of person you want to be there with. Even though in the office you might want to avoid her, she might be the weird woman that is kind of just creepy. But on this as an island, she's your savior, especially for this young CEO who has a bum leg because it got screwed up when the plane crashed. In fact, she could have left him on the shores of the island to die, but she nurses him back to help. She builds a shelter for him. She tries nursing him. And when he tries taking advantage of that, she lets him know that without her, he would not survive. And she gives him a couple opportunities to prove himself to her. And there's some twists, there's some turns, and there's really great character development and growth in this movie. There'll be times where you'll be changing your allegiance to which character you're rooting for, at some point you might be saying, I don't really know if I'm rooting for either of these people to survive. And that's the beauty of this movie, all right? Now, Rachel McAdams feels like she's channeling, I don't know, let's say, hmm, I guess Diane Lane a little bit, but that's not who I'm thinking. No, Sally Fields. She's really honing the Sally Fields type of performance in this, but she's wearing Keaton style clothing. In the movie, she's kind of this frazzled woman in the beginning. She looks like like, she's really ugly, and it's like, we know this is Rachel McAdams, and she's a freaking hottie. And of course, as the movie progresses, she she becomes like she's all that. She slowly becomes hotter as the movie goes on, as she finds the strength in her passion to survive on the island. She becomes her true self. And Dylan O'Brien is kind of this helpless guy who thinks he has all this power and skill to survive, but he has no power and no skills to survive. And his vulnerabilities crack. It's such an interesting dynamic they have together. And you might be saying, Sam Raimi doing this type of movie? He's a horror guy, or he's a guy who does comic book movies these days. This doesn't sound like his kind of movie. Why would he make this one? It doesn't scream superhero, it doesn't scream horror, and that may be true, but this movie is a Sam Raimi movie, all right? Yes, the premise isn't totally his thing, but the execution, there's so many gory, crazy, insane, wacky things that happen. And that's the Sam Raimi moment. That's Sam Raimi. You'll just be screaming that throughout the whole movie, giddy like a little kid. And the climax of this movie is total Sam Raimi madness. It's so awesome. When I list the cast of characters, or I guess the actors earlier, you may have noticed I left out a Sam Raimi staple. Someone who goes with Sam Raimi like peanut butter goes with jelly. And that's the one and only Bruce motherfucking Campbell, a man that I personally spent a month with and just got to know and hung out with, and a man who's just as amazing as you think he would be, as cool and warm, welcoming, happy, funny, and generous and snarky and great as you'd imagine. Anyways, I left his name out when I listed the cast of this movie, but for you eagle-eyed viewers, you'll realize Sam Raimi put his boy in there. He throws a little Bruce Campbell action in here. There's a big Bruce cameo in here. Would I like to see a bigger cameo? You bet your ass I would. But he is still a very important character in this movie, and you don't get this movie if his character is not a part of it. All right, I gotta say, without spoiling anything, but for those of you who are a certain age like me, this movie kind of has a little bit of a even Stevens movie style vibe to it, so keep that one in mind. But by God, I had a fun time watching this. There was never a dull moment. I was always wondering what the twists and turns were gonna be, and I was wondering how it was gonna end. I didn't know who to root for. I just knew that there was a great story, fantastic directing, stellar performances, beautiful visuals. Like, this island they're on is so beautiful. And it's great to see a kick-ass woman in charge leading a movie like this. And I will say the only major flaw I had here was some mediocre CG work. All right. So there's some animals and some elements and a couple of scenes that are like, "Ooh, that looks like some slocky CG," but that's not too much of this movie. If you can look past a little bit of mediocre CG in this movie, this is a really fun movie. And it flies by. This movie is never boring. It never drags. It's always progressively getting better and better and outdoing itself and moving the story along in a quick manner. I had a blast watching this, and I highly suggest you check out Send Help on the big screen. And I'd like to thank you for watching this review. If you happen to have liked it, why not do both of us a favor here and hit like and subscribe, because I'm putting out daily videos right here on this platform. And if you happen to like pop culture podcasts, guess what? I have one of those. It's called the Movie Toast, news and reviews, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you, and please stay toasty.